Hello and welcome to the first of hopefully many episodes of a series where I show you how I prepare for a new campaign, how I prepare my adventures, how I prepare for a game. I think my process is not dissimilar from what many GMs out there go through. I do a mashup of existing material, existing adventures, existing rules, and I combine that with my own stuff to mesh it up into something unique. For this campaign especially, I want to mix up Into the Word and Wild, which I've reviewed before and which has greatly impressed me. And I want to use that book for the wilderness section of my campaign setting. And I will mix that with a big city and some small townships around that I will make up myself, which will be heavily inspired by Darkest Dungeons or the game Bloodborne, with a church of blood healing, with huge cathedral, gothic spires and deep, dark alleyways, and potentially a mega dungeon underneath. So if seeing my process, my ideas, if this is interesting to you, like and subscribe, and let's start with the first episode. Today it's about structuring ideas. Right now I've got a lot of loose concepts and ideas and really half ideas in my head of where I want to go, but nothing concrete yet, nothing is written down. So I'm starting this process of structuring my ideas and writing them down today. In the past, I've used physical media, a physical notebook, or just a college block to write down my campaign notes. But there are certain advantages to doing it digitally. For me personally, I can write faster on a keyboard than I can with a pen, and way more readable. And it's also easier to rearrange, restructure, to copy and paste, to split and to merge notes. You can just edit it, whatever, with a click of a button. You don't have to rewrite anything or rip pages out and put them somewhere else. Way more convenient if you're organizing a lot of notes. And I'm especially using a cloud service, Google Drive to be exact. Using a cloud allows me to access my notes from anywhere, at any time, from any device, and it is automatically backed up on my hard drive and in the cloud. There are some world building tools out there like Campfire or World Anvil that will give you a service, will give you a full package of world building tools, but I find that is too much for what I'm doing, so I suppose it is too much for most GMs. You don't need that huge amount of tools. I personally find that to be overwhelming, to be honest. All I really need is a solid file system with folders and subfolders and a text editor, and I'm good to go. So let's get right in. Let's go to the computer. Let's get into it. So when I was doing this, for some reason my screen capture software didn't record any audio. So sadly I can't show you live what I've been doing. On the upside, it will be much shorter and more compact to show you what I've already done. So here in Google Drive, I've created a new folder, RPG Campaign 2, until I've got a title for that, or I've got a name for that. And I started by putting a lot of pictures I had already collected into my pictures unsorted folder. Over the last weeks, I have collected a number of pictures that I find have the right mood for what I am looking for in the game. So I can look at this for inspiration, for monsters, for NPCs, for locations, or just to get in the right mood. And I can show these to my players so they know what the campaign is about and they can get some ideas for characters. And as you can see, I have a lot of Bloodborne in here, some Breath of the Wild, grim fairy tale stuff. I'm looking at grim fairy tales mixed with eldritch horror. Also have a folder for adventures and for rules. And for now in here is only Into the Word and Wild, which I'm definitely planning on using in the campaign. I'm not sure what else. Some kind of OSR rule set, potentially old school essentials. I still haven't sorted all of that out. Also, I've got an adventure folder for the adventures I'm making and for the pre-written adventures that I'm planning to run the campaign. That will go in there. Now, in the main folder, I've got a number of text files. The first one is the unsorted ideas, where I can just write down any ideas that I have. Now I've written down here, and you can structure this with a list, with the list tool. Then you can make points and just by tapping tab go into subpoints, and by shift tab you go back, and in this way you can structure your ideas into main ideas and sub ideas. So the main ideas, 3 factions are competing over the city. I've got 3 old ones that are influencing these factions. I've got the Lady of Broken Branches from Into the World and Wild, who rules over the wilderness. I've got the Red Queen, who gains influence via the healing church in the city. And I've got some kind of moon presence or elden god that gives guidance from the stars, imparts knowledge to those that study the stars. And that will influence the mages of the Astrologers Guild and the Academy of Science inside of the city. Then I've got a document for my NPCs. And I've structured it in a way that gives me name, appearance, motivation, secrets. Every NPC should have a secret, even if it's a minor one. And every NPC should have a dilemma, something they are struggling with. This will let you know how to use the NPC, what the characters might find out about the NPC, what drives the NPC, and how the characters could help or hinder or get a handle on the NPC. Also, allies, enemies might be interesting, and for rule's sake, skills and equipment. And this is all structured using the headings, heading 1, 2, 3. You can just take this, copy it with Control-C, Control-V, and then fill that out with the actual NPCs. When coming up with NPC, it helps to first think of the role you want to fill. So here I've got the headmaster of the Astronomer Guild. I'm going to need that one. For now, he's called Hank. And his motivation is to unlock the secret of the stars. Allies, Astronomer Guild, enemies, the church, and I have not come up with a lot more yet. But this is all the stuff I can fill out little by little as I need it. You don't have to come up with everything before the first game, just with the bare minimum you need. It helps to have a framework to place all of the stuff you come up with in, So start with the larger framework and start with just a few words, just a few notes, and then only go into the nitty-gritty detail when you need it. So right now, more important than the NPCs are the factions they belong to. The Astronomer Guild, the Adventurers Guild, the Healing Church, and the Court of Broken Branches, and some other factions that will vie for power within the cities that might be antagonists or quest givers, allies or enemies to the PCs. Then I've got locations. For them I've made a pattern like name, what it appears to be at first glance, and what secrets the location holds. And you don't need to put a lot of text in here, just a few bullet points to let you know what you came up with, to let you know what you're looking for. So the city, unnamed as of yet, at first glance is a Gothic city of tall spires and deep alleys, built upon the ruins of an older city time and time again. Secret, there's a mega dungeon underneath the city. That's all I have right now. Then finally, adventure fronts. This is straight out of Dungeon World. This is what is driving the adventures. This is what will happen if the player characters do not intervene with this. So this moves on. You can have several of these, and these will move on even if the party does not interact, and will probably come into conflict and come into actual adventure as the game goes on. So give each of them a name, you write down which NPCs it concerns, which factions, which villains, and then what is at stake. You can have several stakes. Each stake will have a danger. What is the type? Is it a magical danger? Is it mundane? Is it a natural catastrophe? What is the impending doom? What is the worst possible outcome of this? And what are the signs of this danger that the PCs can pick up on, so they know that this is going on and they can try to stop the impending doom? And you can have several of these at once. So let's copy this a few times. I will have at least 3 of them at each time, 1 for each major faction, because each of them is trying to gain absolute power in the city, and that will possibly, most likely, lead to complete destruction of the city. So yeah, this is how I structure my ideas, how I will structure my ideas. And now over the next weeks and potentially month, I will begin filling this all out and then write the actual adventures, the actual rules, and run the actual game. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.